Yesterday we've been discussing the quality of the Buddha, namely Tinna Bhagava Dharanaya Dhamma Seti. The Buddha has crossed over these four floods, and as much as he has crossed over, he teaches the sublime Dhamma for the sake of crossing over, so that as much as he has gone over to the land of peace, to the other side of the ocean of samsara becoming, he teaches the Dhamma so that all beings will be able to cross over the four floods with the practice of the Satipatthana Bhavana and reach a land of safety. As much as one undertakes the practice, even at the very moment of practicing, one is said to be crossing over temporarily, momentarily, the Dhamma. Every second of the time, if you are noting, then you are said to be crossing. And as much as you know the true nature, understand the knowledge, understand the true nature, you are crossing over the flood of ignorance, aviyoga, which is made up of two kinds of ignorance, simple unknowing and knowing wrongly. You will not be swept away into the flood of becoming and drown in it. Knowing the true nature of the objects, as we say, if we know, we will abandon. If we don't know, then we will cling. Clinging arises if we are not knowing, and abandoning arises if we know things. So that you are not being swept away and drowned in this flood of sense desire, kamoga, the flood of sense desire. And not being attached to one's becoming or existence, you are said to be crossing over the flood of becoming or existence, being absent from the attachment to existence. You will not be swept away into this flood of or ocean of becoming. From the time of the practice, knowing the true nature of objects, cultivating insight knowledge towards the maturity of the practice, and realizing the path and fruition knowledge, the noble ones, you are said to be crossing over the flood of existence, of yoga. And those who are practicing the Dhamma, they are crossing over other floods, beginning with the aviyoga, the flood of ignorance, and other floods. They are free from such floods. They are not swept away into the ocean of becoming. When one understands, practices meditation respectfully and carefully, if we understand it by way of theoretical and practical aspects, it is very satisfactory. One should be one should be glad about it, about the result of practice. For those who are not practicing Satipatthana, or even if one practices Satipatthana, one is not doing it properly, then just like if one is swept away by ordinary, the real flood, one will drown in it. So too, if we are not practicing Satipatthana, or even if one is doing it, one is doing very lightly, not seriously, then one is bound to be swept away into the flood of becoming. Although, in which case, although one may not die personally, one may lose one's quality, one's dignity will die. Just as the real flood or ocean is hard to cross, so too with these four floods, if one is swept away into these floods, then one will find it very difficult to cross these floods. So the remedy or the answer to this problem is the practice of the four foundations of mindfulness, which the yogis are doing now. So in accordance with the sequence, we come to this quality of the Dhamma, the last quality of the Dhamma, namely Pranibhuto Sabhagava, Pranibhaya Dhammante Seti. The Buddha has attained Nibbana, and he teaches the sublime Dhamma for the sake of attaining Nibbana. As for the Buddha, Sabhagava, he is a refuge, place of refuge, a person of refuge, who has extinguished all kilesas to the point of no return. And after extinguishing all kilesas and attaining Nibbana, he teaches the sublime Dhamma to all beings, to all of us, so that we will be able to extinguish all kilesas. He teaches the Dhamma with compassionate feeling. Hence the Buddha is called Pranibhuta, the one who has extinguished all defilements. Totally extinguished all kilesas to the point of no return. He extinguishes kilesas, that means he extinguishes all defilements, all tormenting, undermining elements, because kilesas, defilements, produce heat, they would burn us. There are 10 kinds of kilesas, namely greed, hatred, delusion, mana, pride, deity, view, wrong view, ahirika, shamelessness or wrongdoing, or spiritual shamelessness, anotapa, spiritual fearlessness of wrongdoing, audecha, distraction, restlessness, and kokucha, worry, and vicikecha, skeptical doubt. These are 10 defilements. They are known as kilesas, defilements. They would burn you. They have the quality of burning. When the fuel burns, after the fuel has burned out, then what will be left behind? What will be left behind is either ash or ashes or soot, the black dirty things. So when it burns, it's bound to produce heat. That means suffering, painful, so that one's stream of consciousness is left with just soot or ash. The mind becomes miserable. Kilesa has that kind of effect. It has the effect of burning. It burns both the mind and the body, so that both the mind and the body becomes hot and left with just soot. Hence, they are known as defilements or kilesas. As for the Buddha, he has extinguished all defilements to the point of no return. Hence, his name has Pranibhuta. Buddha has that kind of quality. Buddha's qualities have been mentioned up to this time, namely Danda, tamed, Santa, peace, and Tinna, crossed over. All these things are different in wordings but same in meaning. So also Pranibhuta have attained Nibbana by extinguishing all kilesas to the point of no return. All these things are adjectives to qualify the Buddha. Buddha has extinguished all kilesas, hence he has attained the element of Nibbana. And does he himself experience this Nibbana and without helping others? No. He preaches the Dhamma. He teaches the Dhamma, which is given by this expression, Dhammante Seti. He teaches the Dhamma so that the Dhamma which will extinguish all kilesas, so that all beings will be able to extinguish kilesas like himself. And this Dhamma is none other than the 3 trainings: Sila Sekha, morality training, Samadhi Sekha, concentration training, and Panya Sekha, wisdom training. In a sense, they are the Eightfold Path, or the practice of Satipatthana, 4 foundations of mindfulness. If one practices one of these 4 foundations of mindfulness, for instance, if one practices mindfulness of the body, Kayanupassana Satipatthana, mindfulness of the body, then one is said to be practicing the 3 trainings of the Eightfold Path. If one is practicing every feeling that arises, then one is said to be practicing the 3 trainings and the Eightfold Path. And if one noting every mental object arising in one's mind with the practice of the mindfulness of the mind, Chitta Anupassana Satipatthana, one is said to be practicing the 3 trainings or the Eightfold Path. And if one is noting every phenomena arising with the practice of Dhamma Anupassana Satipatthana, mindfulness of the Dhamma, one is said to be practicing the 3 trainings and the Eightfold Path. So the practice of 4 foundations of mindfulness is the cause for extinguishing kilesas, and the Buddha has preached that with compassionate feeling. If one indulges in kilesa, one will suffer. Once, if any or one of the kilesas strikes your mind, then your stream of consciousness will burn and will be tortured and be left with misery. And not only the mind but also the body will be left with just like soot or ash when one indulges in defilements. So if the defilement arises, then one's mind and body will be unclear. The mind will be anxious, without clarity. With the practice of mindfulness, the mind will become clear, and so will the body. So both the mind and the body will become clear, because the clear blood is circulating in the body. One will feel happy instead of feeling miserable. Instead of just like when sudden fuel burns, it leaves behind soot or ash. In this case, the mind will not feel miserable. Instead, the mind will be happy, and so will be the body. Because the mind is not bound by these defilements, there will be no soot or ash left behind, no misery left behind. Because you are not tormented or undermined by these defilements, the mind will become clear and peaceful. So will be the body. And since that, so that you become healthy as a result of the practice of mindfulness. Such is the Dhamma, and the Buddha has taught the Dhamma with compassionate feeling, and the yogis are practicing such Dhamma. How has he taught the Dhamma? And he has taught the Dhamma for the attainment of Nibbana. Hence, Parinibhaya, he teaches the Dhamma for the extinct, so that all beings will be able to extinguish kilesas, so that one will not be left with kilesas. He has not taught the Dhamma not for other reasons, but just for the sake of overcoming or extinguishing kilesas and attaining Nibbana. Not for the sake of gain, fame or honor. When he teaches the Dhamma, he does so without any attachment to himself or to his Dhamma, such as I am teaching the Dhamma, with attachment to oneself, nor with pride and conceit, mana. And he is free from the attachment and pride when he teaches the Dhamma. Nowadays, there are some teachers who teach the Dhamma by taking notes from this teacher or that teacher, from various teachers, and teach the Dhamma from notes. And they may feel proud, and they may feel attached to themselves, that with egoic attachment, that it is I who is teaching, and I am the Dhamma teacher, and so on. As for the Buddha, there is no such thing. There is no trace of defilements in him when he is teaching the Dhamma. Hence, his teaching is successful. Pranibhuto means is defined as kilesi, pranibhavanena, pranibhuto. That means by extinguishing all kilesas, one has reached the stage. That is extinguishing what? Extinguishing the defilements, which are of 10. We have this greed, lobha, wanting things, craving for desirable objects, and dosa, anger, hatred, mana, moha, delusion, not knowing the truth, being stupid, and not being clear about the true nature of things. That is moha, delusion. Then we have mana, pride or conceit, holding high esteem of oneself. And then deity, view, wrong view, vicikiccha, skeptical doubt, having doubtful about true nature of things. And then Tinna, sloth, being lazy and sluggishness, such as Tinna, and Uddhacca, distraction, restlessness, the mind going here and there, going about without any control. Ahirika, shamelessness of wrongdoing. This is spiritual shamelessness. And Anotapa, fearlessness of wrongdoing, spiritual fearlessness. So, as for ordinary beings who has not taken up any practice of Satipatthana, they are filled, they have kilesas. Their mind is defiled. All defilements are with them. Excuse me. So that they are burned, undermined and tortured physically and mentally. So this kind of extinguishing of kilesas is one qualification of the Buddha. And that means there are also other qualifications about the extinguishing of kilesas. That is, there are three kinds of extinguishing, pranibhana, namely kilesa pranibhana, that is extinguishing all kilesas. As for the Buddha, with the realization of the fourth supramundane path, Arhata Mega, he was able to extinguish all kilesas to the point of no return, such is kilesa pranibhuta, extinguishing all kilesas. And another kind of pranibhana is khanda pranibhana. That is the final demise of the body. Both the mind and the body cease to exist. Such is khanda pranibhana. And the last one of the three pranibhana is dhatu pranibhana. That is the extinguishing of all the remains. I mean, what remains of the Buddha's demise. And those who are devoted to the Buddha set up or build dhatu chidiya, shrines and pagodas, enshrining the remains of the Buddha. When at one time, at a later time, when there are nobody who is devoted to the Buddha, at that time it is said that all these remains will gather together at a place now known as the Buddha Gaya and will cease to exist. At this point, we are concerned with kilesa pranibbana, extinguishing of kilesas. When after the Buddha has extinguished all kilesas to the point of Nirodhan, he exhorts all beings to be able to extinguish all kilesas by giving the method of extinguishing. If one is not able to extinguish kilesas by himself or herself, one will not be able to teach the Dhamma to extinguish, for the extinguishing of all kilesas. At this point, the text has given this Buddha has preached the Dhamma to extinguish all defilements, and when one is extinguishing kilesas, it is said that one must be cruel, without any sympathetic feeling. In the text is given that yogis will be bound by defilements if he or she is not able to overcome them, so that he or she must be able to extinguish all kilesas with cruelty, without having a sympathetic feeling towards these kilesa fires. Just like the real fuel has no sympathy about when it burns all things. It will not leave behind anything at all. It will not consider whether anything is valuable or not, whether anything is worthy or not. It will burn everything in its way. So also, as much as the real fire will burn everything in its way, so too with the yogis. When the yogis are practicing Satipatthana, they should have cruelty towards all defilements without any sympathetic feeling. Now the yogis are practicing Satipatthana with the practice of Sila Sikha, morality training. They are burning away the transgressive form of defilements which can arise in one's mind and body. And with the practice of Samadhi Sikha, concentration training, they should burn away or burn up all obsessive defilements which can arise in the mind. And with the practice of Piññā Sikha, wisdom training, they should be able to burn up all latent tendencies, anusaya kilesas, without any sympathetic feeling. And they should be cruel towards all these kilesa fires. And the Buddha has given this method. Cruelty means one should not be sympathetic towards all these kilesa fires. That means not indulging in them, abstaining what should be abstained. That's the first method. And preventing from arising. And then if it's a latent tendency, one should be able to eradicate and cut them off. These are the three methods: abstention, prevention, and eradication. Abstention means, let us say, if somebody is going to commit any transgressive actions, that is, for instance, in this case, killing. If you indulge in that, you are said to be losing to the defilements. If you are committing transgressive actions such as killing, then you are said not to be cruel. You are having a sympathetic feeling towards these defilements. And in the case of anger, dosa also, this will lead to vitekama kilesas, transgressive defilements. And coveting another's properties, this is an extreme case of greed. One should be able to abstain from covetousness, and that is abstaining from stealing. Instead of abstaining, if you are indulging in this defilement, you are indulging in greed, lobha. That means you are having sympathetic feeling towards the defilement. indulging in dosa, you are losing your honor and dignity. You are said to be sympathetic. You are having sympathy towards this defilement. That means you are bound to lose. And same thing goes in the sexual misconduct, having sexual relations with somebody else's spouse and so on. Instead of abstaining, you are indulging in Tinna Lobha, that is greed and attachment or lust, instead of abstaining from sexual misconduct, as you take vows such as Kamesu Meshachara, abstention from sexual misconduct. Instead of abstention, if you are indulging, you are said to be sympathetic towards this defilement. And then telling false speech, speaking falsely, that is, you may be lying as a result of greed or as a result of anger or hatred, in both cases moha, delusion, is involved. In which case you are said to be sympathetic towards this defilement. So you have, instead of abstaining from false speech, you should be able to speak truly. And in the case of taking intoxicants also, you take vows of precept not to abstain from intoxicants. But if you, instead of abstaining, if you are indulging in intoxicants, you are said to be indulging in this defilement known as lobha, which is the case in most cases. Then you are bound to lose to this lobha. So you are failing in the observation of what should be observed and to abstain from what should be abstained. You are failing in commissions and omissions, such as indulging in these killing, these transgressive actions such as killing, stealing and so on. In which case you are said to be indulging in defilements, which means that you are not cruel to the kilesa fires. Instead, you are having sympathetic feeling towards all these defilements. In which case, you will be a loser, and you will not be a worthy human being, or you will not be a fully human being. So, one should be able to abstain with possession of these two wholesome mental states, hiri-ottappa, that is shamefulness and fearfulness about wrongdoing, having spiritual fear, spiritual shame and spiritual fear, not indulging in greed, hatred and so on. You should be cruel towards these defilements. In this way, this practice of restraint and control of behaviors is very important. If you are able to do that, you are said to be fulfilled with the practice of morality, sila sekha, in which you will be able to overcome these transgressive forms of defilements. You will feel peaceful. As for the yogis, with the practice of sila sekha, morality training, they are extinguishing the transgressive types of fires. How beneficial they are. We shall continue tomorrow to talk about the positive results of extinguishing such fires. That's all for today.